pre-AI or pre-automation era of talent acquisition and now? What are some of the challenges or differences that you see?
I would say 5% of our total hiring comes through the emerging talent.
How do you take the culture forward, keeping the Akamai vibes on?
FlexSpace offers us both the challenge and the opportunity to try different things.
Hardcore software engineer to a manager and then to a
general
VP
management,
and general manager. Yeah, quite a journey. And Akamai India has also grown alongside.
Hi folks, this is Kurian. I'm part of Talent Acquisition Akamai. Welcome to Bytes and Beyond. And I have two beautiful ladies with me. Sandy, she heads APJ, Talent Acquisition team. And we also have Mellisa. She's an instructional designer working for Talent Development team. Welcome Sandy and Mellisa in Bytes and Beyond.
Thank you.
Well, before we move on to all sorts of questions and answers, would like to know a little background of yourself. What have you been doing? What have you done in the past? Would love to know about it. Sandy, would you like to go first?
Sure. So I am Sandy and I lead talent acquisition in Akamai. I've been here for 5 years already. How time flies.
Yeah.
Gosh. And so I have a team here in India, which is why I'm here today. And then I have a team in Singapore and also a team in Japan. Before Akamai, I started first 8 years of my career in sales. Hard to believe that. Wow. And then I moved into headhunting before going in-house for talent acquisition. And over the past 2 decades or so, I've covered the technology industry, I've covered the biomedical industry, hospitality, and fast-moving consumable goods. And then now back to my home ground, which is technology, and loving every moment.
Plethora of expertise you have, both IT and non-IT. I think it's a nice blend of skills that you carry, because in Akamai, it's not only technology, we also hire non-tech. Welcome to the show. Mellisa, over to you.
I'm Mellisa and I'm from the Shared Learning Services team within GTD. I started my career as a software tester and I worked for about 2-3 years as a tester, and then I moved into instructional design. So prior to coming into Akamai, I had a career of about 6 to 8 years in instructional design, and then I took a break and then joined back. I've been here now for close to 2 years and it's been great.
Lovely to have you in the show, Mellisa. Thank you very much. Sandy, this is talent acquisition, right?
This is us.
Yes, this is us. And you are passionate about talent acquisition. You've been in this industry more than 2 decades now, right? Both, as you said, both IT and non-IT. What are some of the challenges, since you have that pre-AI or pre-automation era of talent acquisition and now? What are some of the challenges or differences that you see?
Yeah, I think a lot has evolved over time, and not just from a technology perspective, but also from a pre-pandemic perspective, right? Yeah. Things have changed so much if you think about it. So years back, we could reach everybody in the office. We could call the companies, we can cold call, we can find people easily. And these days, with the pandemic, a lot of company has moved into a hybrid or a flexible work environment. So reaching people, it's not as straightforward as before. That's one. And two, I think technology itself has made a lot of changes. And in the past, we never really had AI, we don't have databases, we don't have LinkedIn. Absolutely. And so some of the things I would say has enabled us, and some of the things, i.e. people not in the office, makes it harder for the outreach. So it all depends. I think there are the good and the bad. And we also have tools that enable us to be able to qualify people, right? So we internally here use HackerRank to assess people. We use Role Mapper to make sure that our job descriptions are concise, eliminate the biasness of the job description to enable diverse candidates to want to look at it and apply. And so there are a lot of things. It's some work for the better and sometimes don't.
Yeah,
but
we have come a long way. I remember asking for employer referrals over a cup of tea.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, we have come a long way, and here we are, all driven by technology.
Yes.
We are in a business where talent availability is pretty low, right? The demand and supply, and not only that, in India, if you look at, we get investments from everywhere. Like you talk about UK, US, or Russia, or Israel, anywhere, every region they want to tap into India talent, right? So demand and supply is always a challenge as it comes to cybersecurity. What do you think? What innovative ways we apply to attract this limited talent pool?
Yeah, I think you rightly said India is a hotbed for us, in Akamai, where we are globally investing in India. We have seen a lot of successes. This is one of the 3 development centers we have globally,
Right.
and lots of talent. We've been very successful in hiring. Hence, we are, to your point, we're getting global investment here. There are quite a few things, if you ask me, that help us to be successful in attracting talent. I think one, Akamai has a really positive and good brand out there. We have been year on year getting the best company to work for award rather. So we have been getting that, and that has enabled us to put a positive brand out there. We have a number of programs externally to be able to attract people as well. We have what we call a Revive program, which is really enabling people to come back to work after a career break.
Right.
And what is unique about us in this program, while Back to Work isn't unique in India, for us in Akamai, this program attracts both male and female. So as long as you're on a career break, it really doesn't have to be female, not limited to female. We do have gentlemen who has taken breaks to take care of their family,
Right.
elderly parents, and then coming back to work. And that has been a very successful program for us. We also have what I like to call it's called Augmenta, but it's essentially an apprenticeship kind of program where we bring people who may not necessarily be equipped with the right skill sets, but they come on board, they get trained for 6 months, we do pay them a salary for
Right.
that 6 months, and then after which we convert them into a full-time role. So those are just to name a few of those programs to enable us to build talent externally.
Yeah.
And then, of course, internally, gosh, we still have so many programs.
So many programs,
in
yeah, of
terms
course.
of upskilling and reskilling.
Yeah, yeah.
What-
While we
what-
stay in
what are
Revive,
some- yeah.
Well, we stay in Revive, right? We have Mellisa. I think both of you have taken a career break,
Yes.
right? Mellisa, why don't you share your experience, right? You took a career break. I mean, 10 years back, if I recollect, people with a break of 6 months, right, it was so difficult to come back to the mainstream, right? How is it different now? How do you feel?
When I think of certain organizations, not much has changed. There is a lot of hesitance on their part of wondering whether a candidate is suitable still. Are their skills still? Do they still match the industry?
Right.
But obviously now, when I think of Akamai with the Revive program, my experience was completely different.
Yeah.
Throughout the interview process, and even before the interview process, when I was approached by the HR team, they just had, it was more of, so yes, you took a break, but are you ready to come back? And the moment I said yes, it just got the ball rolling, and there were no more questions asked.
Wow.
Post that. So I would say, like I said, not every organization has changed, but definitely Akamai is very different in its approach.
That's
with the
lovely.
Revive program.
So 3 years break, of course, you would have a lot of apprehensions to restart your career. And you would have a lot of questions, right? Okay, should I start as an instructional designer or a tester? Should I explore, right? Share some of these apprehensions that you had, before exploring options.
So I always knew that I wanted to get back to instructional design. That was
Okay.
never a confusion in my mind because I had spent a majority of my career as one. I think the only apprehension was, am I ready to take on what has changed while I was not there?
Right, okay.
If I'm not ready, will the organization meet me where I am? will they be ready to invest that time and energy and money in helping me upskill myself? Definitely, I could see it in the organization once I joined. With the managers, with the leads, I got the support I needed.
Lovely. Sandy, would you like to share your experience? You must be having opportunities, right? In Singapore, I'm not sure how many opportunities do you get at your level. What were some of the opportunities when you were exploring?
Yeah, so I took almost 3 years break as well. Yeah, 2+ years, almost 3 years break. And honestly, it is the number of senior roles available out there will not always be available, and it is to a large extent partly also due to the pandemic, right? So the roles are not readily available and all. But I think, at the end of the day, I feel that it is driven by my individual passion. If you love what you do and you're good at what you do, the break should not be a factor for that stopping us from coming back to work. And I think Akamai, it's a real testament of a place where it looks at skills and capability versus, and experience obviously, versus what was your last job? When was your last job? Are you dated or are you not, right? So, and very similar to Mellisa's experience, at the end of the day, we're an organization that focuses on who you are, what do you bring to the organization.
Once you joined Akamai, right, you've learned lot about the internal policies, the internal movements, right, how we value people's aspiration, right, what they are passionate about, right, and that's the reason we revamped the whole internal job transfers, right. I'm pretty sure, right, most of the companies have tenure before you apply for a different role. In Akamai, absolutely, the day you join, you can apply for any role that you want to. Tell us something about that policies. How does that make you feel, right? You joined an organization and you know that if you're passionate about something else, you can apply the very next day. So tell us something about these kind of policies in an org, especially people with who have shifted their careers or shifted their expertise or skills.
Kurian, I remember when we were looking at this policy globally, then I would say even for us within talent acquisition, we didn't have to think about the possible reaction from the business. But I'm so glad we made that change, to be honest, because it again reinforces that Akamai is a very progressive company. We have removed tenure. So before this policy was renewed, an employee has to be on the job for 12 months before they can apply for a job internally, and we've removed that. So it really doesn't matter, regardless of the time spent in the role. You can, if you see a job posted internally that interests you, that meets your career aspiration, you can apply. Absolutely. No question asked, right? And I think that has been such a game changer for us. Our internal job transfer has definitely gone up. That's one. Significantly. I remember last year when we did build our cloud team here in India, more than 45% of our jobs were filled with internal job transfer. And it's been great because we are providing opportunities for people internally. We are also building a culture where people are not holding on to the employees as if they are their asset, but rather this is a company asset. We are redeveloping people, we are upskilling people, we're allowing people to move internally versus seeking for job opportunities externally. So I'll say that Akamai has been very progressive in many sense of the word, and this is just one of the many programs that we've had that really moved the needle for us.
Got it. This program has really helped to retain some of the top talents that we have. But do you see, as an organization, a risk because we are giving opportunities to people with a skill gap, right? Do you see a risk? How is company invested in these top talents? Though they have skills, but still there is a gap.
It's in the culture, it's in the DNA of Akamai to develop our employees. So for any move, right, I think we do assess our employees based on foundational capabilities. And then whatever is missing, as an organization, we are vested. We will invest in training, developing people, and getting people ready. So if I were to take another program as an example, we talked about the apprenticeship earlier, Augmenter, right? We're taking people externally, training them internally before we convert them into a FTE role. So what more from an internal perspective? We are definitely more invested in the internal employees. So I would say we have in every division, I am sure they have programs that's made available to train, upskill our employees to get them ready for the job. And even at a leadership level, whether we're promoting people to lead, to manager, and to director, mentoring is such a big thing in Akamai. We have programs that train people on how to lead. We train people on growth mindset. There's just so many internal programs to get people ready to take on whether it's an IC role or a managerial role. So I'm convicted that we have all of those in place.
Lovely. And Mellisa, if you want to apply for a talent acquisition role tomorrow, you're most,
You're most welcome.
That's lovely. Moving on to the next topic. Some of the future trends now, we'll talk about it, right? AI is happening in the industry and it is impacting talent acquisition as well, right? Everywhere you go, it's all about automating things, right? Mundane, usual tasks are being automated. How do you think your leadership, what is it that we can expect down the line when it comes to AI or automation?
I think it's top of mind for us, and I don't think we have hacked it yet, if you ask me. But we do have a few things that we have in place today that will potentially manage some of those AI innovation that's coming through or coming our way. So we use HackerRank as a tool for technical assessment, and there is an AI built in there as well that help us to assess candidates if they are using ChatGPT by the side, if they're using multiple screen, if they are having delayed and lip syncing and stuff like that, right? So that most of the tools we use kind of take care of some of those things. And then obviously with our own, another tool that we use is called Eightfold, and that's one we use to calibrate candidates that are coming through. So for every single job, we calibrate candidates in the database to find a good fit, and that's an AI-powered tool as well. Similarly, we use that for internal communities where we allow our employees to look at how they are matching up to the jobs that we have internally, and they also get to see but they get to see skill sets required for the next level job that they want to, and what is missing, what are the gaps, and what do they need to meet, and what do they need to achieve. And then obviously they will look at mentoring, how do they build up those skill sets and stuff like that. So I think we do have a few of those things that enable us today, but I would say we haven't entirely hacked it, and I'm sure across the industries everyone is thinking about that at the moment.
Absolutely. You touched upon the talent community piece of it, right? What are the talent gaps, what are the skill gaps that I have, right? I can easily figure out, and system is telling me, and that's amazing thing, right? I just need to put my skills there, and to the next level, if you have to move, what are the skills that you need to develop? System tells me. That's amazing, and
Have you tried that yourself?
I did try.
Very good.
Of course, everybody dreams about moving to the next level, so I follow you. I follow Nikki and Alia, of course. Right, I closely monitor what you guys are doing differently, right? At your level, right? How do you strategize things? How do you take decisions, right? And what are the factors that you consider while taking a decisions, right? And how do you drive a long-term vision? So all those things I closely follow. Yeah, I do follow you, right? So, Mellisa, coming to you, how do you find this feature of talent community, right? That system tells you that these are the talent gaps you have for your next level. Does that help you build your career at Akamai?
I would say yes, it would, and it does help you because it tells you exactly where you stand and what you need to do to get into that next role. So definitely, having that knowledge is power, right? So if I know that I want to see myself grow, I need to know what is it that it would take from me. So yeah, definitely.
Coming to you, Sandy, talent acquisition again, our leadership continue to stress on being a talent advisor, right? Talent advisor to business, talent advisor to candidates, right? Talent advisor to panels, whatnot. I mean, that's a focus area, right? We are not just a paper pushers, but a talent advisors. What do you think? What's the long term? What do you expect from this talent acquisition team, right? As a talent advisor, what more we can do?
I think a few things stands out for me when it comes to how we show up as a high-performing talent acquisition team for the business, right? Over time, when you are invited to a meeting, that in itself is a good sign that you're valued and your input are valued in the meeting itself, right? So that's one. Two, like you said, we are not an agency. We don't get credit for every placement and get paid for every placement that we make, but rather the jobs that we do, the people that we place in this organization will help the organization to grow and perform. So think about whether it's the developers or even the salespeople, like every single role that we place will enable the organization to level up and perform in the market, right? So if you ask me, the talent acquisition team's top priority is about knowing the business, knowing the challenges of the business, and knowing also what are the challenges externally in the market, so that when we go out there, we are credible, not just for the external candidates, but we're also credible internally because we know what's going on with the business. And that is the thing that sets us apart today, right? And the business comes to us and say, I need somebody. Not only do you know who is out there, but also here are my issues, here's what I'm looking for, here are the kind of things that I want to match, not just from a skills perspective, but also from a team dynamic perspective. And those are the kind of conversation that we have all the time. And to enable us to be able to do that, I cannot count the number of times we have invited the business to come to our all hands, our team meeting, to tell us whenever we have an acquisition, we bring new people to the team and say, give us a new perspective around what are we doing here? How are we addressing the market with this new product, with this new technology? What sets us apart, right? Give us the good and the bad, so when we go out, we can be credible in the marketplace. So I think that's really how we are growing as a team and how we are setting ourselves apart from the other companies. Our talent acquisition team isn't one that are just putting one body on the seat, but it has to be the right fit, the right culture, but really know us as an organization. And we can only do that through ourselves knowing the business well enough to be able to find those individuals.
Mellisa, as a candidate coming after 3 months of career break, how was your experience with the Akamai India talent acquisition team?
It was great, and it was very smooth. From the time I got the first call about the position, the focus of the team was always on what they could do to help me in the next stage. And even after joining, I got the same sort of support and the same sort of encouragement from my team. So my managers, their focus was always to see what is it that I need, and you know, those check-ins every few weeks really helped, because it got me comfortable and it got me feeling like, okay, you know I've taken a break, but there are people there to help me and drive me in the right direction. The focus was never on the break, but it was always on, even during the interviews, when the focus was always on my skill and what I achieved when I was working, that was very encouraging. That gave me confidence.
So I have a question, Mellisa.
Yes.
It's been coming up to 2 years, right? And I know you started at the tail end of COVID. And so what actually attracted you during this period, this 2 years, right? What were some of the things that Akamai offer kept you engaged and happy in your role?
I'd say the first thing, and which is top of the list, was the flex-based program.
Okay.
For a working mom, to have that flexibility, to have that freedom to be able to run your errands or rush for a doctor's appointment when your kid is sick without having to worry that you have to give an answer for the time that you're not near your system.
Yep.
That definitely was like top of the list for me. I knew that, okay, I'm heading in the right direction and this is the organization for me, because it boils down to trust and you'll do your best.
Yeah.
So I think that was top of the list. The second thing was work-life balance for me. Being able to manage children, manage your house, and give your best at work. It takes a lot, definitely. To have the organization support you in that really calls out to working moms. Because we want to strike that balance, but we also want to focus on our careers.
Right.
We also want to achieve in our careers. So I'd say the flexibility to work at my time and to have that balance is what really attracted me to Akamai.
Yeah, I would 100% concur with that, and that works really for me as well. As we talked about how progressive Akamai is, we started the flexible work arrangement where almost 100% of our jobs are remote, right? You literally can work from anywhere, everywhere, as long as things gets done. And to that point, it's not just about the physical location and work getting done, but there's also a lot of trust in the organization. And that's the thing that really, for me, enables me to do my job, but also do a good job because of the trust that I receive from the organization. And if you ask me, I love how I can integrate my work and my life so seamlessly. I never have to watch the clock and say, oh, it's 9 a.m., I need to be at my desk. It's 12 o'clock, I need to take a lunch break. But, I can, do things in between at my own pace, but also getting a job done and done well. So that's from the two working mom.
Yeah.
How does that work for you as a working dad?
I can completely relate to what Sandy is saying. As my boss, anytime I need her, right, she's available. She's almost available 24/7, right? If not on the system, or she's available on WhatsApp, right? So I think she's the one who makes best use of flexible work, right? So thank you, Sandy, for being there. On technology front, right, we are heavily invested in, right? You talk about, inclusive job descriptions. We use technology, right? To conduct interviews, we use technology, right? ATS, we have technology, and whatnot. Anything that you talk about, right? We are heavily invested. So what's the future look like, right? Now AI, again, we spoke about, right? We have certain mundane tasks, like for example, scheduling, right? That's something that continues, right? And do you foresee that we investing in AI a lot in the days to come to automate these mundane tasks that we have?
That's a very good question. And I don't know that, like to the earlier point, I don't think we hacked it yet. I do know that we are in the process of doing a fair bit of transformation work from a technology front, and that might come into play. I honestly don't know that I have a good answer for that. But just speaking on the inclusive job description piece, the hiring diverse candidates is top of mind for us as an organization. And one of the things we rolled out a couple of years ago is to have a job description that it's highly inclusive in nature. So the language in which we use is one that it's not masculine,
Yeah.
which is important.
That's right.
And also, it is also very concise. So statistically, what it actually shows is if I am a female applicant and if I look at a long description with like some 12, 20 bullet points of requirements, and if I find 2 or 3 that I'm not sure I can do it, chances are that I will not apply.
Yeah.
Right? And when we roll out this inclusive job description, it is very concise, generally limited to about 6 pointers or 6 requirements.
Yeah.
And we remove all the masculine masculine words that's being used in job description, and that makes it a lot more comfortable for a diverse candidate to look at it, read it, and want to apply. And we have seen a higher traffic that comes through. We have also received feedback that the job description, while it's simple, concise, it creates enough curiosity for them to want to come and find out more. And so those are some of the things that we have done to also try to drive
It's very evident, right?
Yeah.
When we look at diversity data globally, it is moving the needle.
Yes.
Right? And globally, we have a big, hairy, audacious goal of touching 30% globally, right? I think Rollmapper is playing a very instrumental role in achieving that. After looking at the job description, couple of things. Did you feel inclusive, number one? And were you able to visualize how a day is going to look like if you take up this role?
I'd say yes, and yes to both of them.
Okay.
I did feel that the expectation from me was with whatever limitations I had, but to just give my best at it.
Right.
And yeah, definitely inclusive. I wouldn't say that I had to, make special arrangements or do something exceptional in order to meet that expectation from the job, from the job description. I did feel quite comfortable, and I felt like, yeah, I can easily do this. It's not like I said, yeah, I don't have to go out of my way to meet the needs of the job.
Did you find any difference, the usual ones that you see out there in portals with like 10 bullet points as Sandy mentioned, right? Required skills, desired skills, and so on. Did you find it different?
Yes, I did find it very different because I felt like, a lot of the organizations feel the need to expect somebody from my field to have, say for example, if it's tools, and if there are 20 tools out there, they expect you to be a master of 14 out of them,
Right.
which is not really practical. And they leave very less room for you to get on the job and explore and learn. So that was very different for me. When I read the job description for Akamai, it was more of, okay, yes, you do. It's good if you know all these things, but then if you don't, we are there to help you out. We are there to meet those needs.
Yeah.
So in that sense, yes, it was very different, and it was just to the point of this is what we need, and are you ready for it?
That's right.
What are some of the feedback that you hear from candidates outside as the team recruits? What was some of the feedback that you get?
Well, as the question itself, right, was the answer, right? People usually are able to understand what it looks like a day in their life at Akamai. Right? That's what they are able to visualize. And it's very limited points, 6 or 7 points, very crisp. What you're going to do, right? You're going to code, you're going to design, you're going to architect. It's very clear.
Yeah.
So that's the kind of feedback we are getting, right? And it helps us to refine our job description further.
Yeah.
And Rollmapper plays a very crucial role here, right? So we continue to invest in technology and leverage technology to improve ourselves. Sandy, coming to diversity, that's the core. Ever since we started 2024, we have non-stop talking about diversity, right? Hiring diversity is so important for women in leadership. You talk about gender diversity, but outside of it, we also have other diversity initiatives like people with disabilities, veterans, and I think LGBTQ. Now we are exploring options to tap into this talent. These are all diverse talent pools, Sandy. What do you think down the line, right? How we can improvise on both balance both gender diversity as well as the other diverse talent pool that we have?
I will at some point turn the question back at you.
Okay.
You run the team
Sure,
here,
sure.
and honestly, I do think that while the company has been very, very progressive, I guess that the India team has made a lot of improvement in expanding our definition of diversity hires, right? So beyond the gender diversity, India TA team has also started hiring people with disability, veterans.
Yeah.
We have also hired, or rather we are on the path to hire LGBTQ as well, right? So you guys have made waves in the industry. I do think that even veterans isn't that big in India
Right.
across the industries and all. So why don't you tell us a little bit more about how your team has been doing that and how successful have they been?
Yeah, well, veterans especially quite unstructured still, I would say, not as structured as it is in US or any other countries like Israel, right? In India, we are coming up. There are organizations that supports veterans to find an alternate job, and it's not easy, honestly. It's not easy for them to transition into corporate culture, right? When you are in defense, you're just supposed to take orders, right? You're not supposed to cross question or question back your superior. Coming back to a corporate, right, it becomes very difficult. So we are tapping into this talent pool, right? But at the same time, we are facing little challenges there, right? When it comes to a cultural shift, it becomes very challenging, right? Either they are used to giving orders or they are used to taking orders. So there are organizations that supports us, right? That molds them to embed into the corporate culture, right? How different it is. And what we are seeing is a good amount of progress we are making in building a veteran talent pool. So there are companies that I can talk about building a database of defense folks from Air Force to Army or Navy, and these folks have not core technical, I would say, but a semi-technical skills that is very helpful for organizations. We have hired a couple of veterans last year. One is for information security division, right? That helps us prevents the attacks, right? Internal systems, they protect our internal systems. So those kind of skills we get and very valuable to us, right? And when it comes to the work ethic, they are there, right? They are very disciplined. So this talent pool, I feel, Sandy, we should invest more in identifying them, because that's the big challenge that we have in India in identifying this talent pool. They are there, but where are they? Something is the question that we are asking, right? So, yeah, I'll come to you
I
for
also
sure.
think, Kurian, I think what really makes the difference for us in enabling us to do this, it's the fact that we do have recruiters are super passionate about
Absolutely.
these diverse group of people out
Yeah.
there, right? So the passion is the thing that drives the recruiters to go out and find them hidden wherever they go, uncover them, right? So that's one. But I think also from a business side, we do have very supportive business
I
who
agree.
are open and want to be able to contribute back to the community to
Right.
hire some of these diverse candidates as well. So that is the one that I say is a game changer, because
Absolutely.
we couldn't do it on our own.
Yeah.
We require people who are passionate, but also require people who are open to embrace that diversity, and I think that really sets us apart.
Absolutely, I agree, and I second that, right? Without support of business, we couldn't have achieved what we had in the past years. I know a lot of initiatives when it comes to diversity hiring, right? 7 years back when I joined Akamai, when I read about Akamai, it was all about content delivery, right? I never knew that we are into cybersecurity as well, right? And now we are in cloud as well, right? What is it that we are doing to improve brand awareness?
A lot of things that we do, from a TA perspective, we are talking to people every day.
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
think about the number of people we talk to every day, multiplied by 365 days minus the weekends for sure. I think that basically creates that brand awareness out there. We obviously partner with our employer brand team to create content. We feature specialists in our organization. We feature leaders. We feature diverse candidates that join us as well. And those are the things that goes out on LinkedIn, goes up on YouTube, goes out on Instagram. Those are the things that basically help us to get out there. And I think the other thing that we mustn't forget, it's the team in India, it's heavily vested in participating in the best companies to work for. And how many years have we been receiving that award, Kurian?
Yeah, it's been long. Yeah, we are a great place to work,
Yes.
right? Constantly within, I think, top 100, we are a great place to work. So we have been receiving awards. Mellisa, coming to you, you applied for this role, right? Did you research about Akamai? What did you find?
Honestly, I didn't really research, but to add to what Sandy just said, I feel another big way to get the word out there and the best ambassadors for what Akamai stands are its people. And that's exactly what happened with me.
Okay.
I didn't really spend a whole lot of time researching about the company, but then I did have someone from the organization who's a colleague at the moment. She reached out to me and she told me about the organization, and she had so many positives to share, and that was the selling point for me. Honestly, it was not so much the job description or what I was getting into, but the fact that she has been in the organization for so long, and all she had was positives to share. And I feel like that is, the best way when people in the organization are so confidently spreading that word, because they are happy and something's really working out well for them.
Yeah,
that's what actually got me very keen on looking at Akamai as the only place that I wanted to work in.
Wow.
The power of employer referral.
Yeah.
Right? And I think, to your point, those are our best ambassador, because who else would you trust but your friends who knows the company inside out, and to be able to tell you about the role, the culture, and the team itself, right? And did you know, Mellisa, that we actually also allow employees to refer what we call returnees or boomerang? So in most companies out there, even across the industries that I worked for in the past, if you are an ex-employee, technically people are not entitled to a referral fee. But I think it was last year, Kurian, that we made a change.
Absolutely.
That we allow employees to even refer a friend who used, or a colleague that used to work for us, to even come back and they are qualified and eligible for that referral as well. And that's great, because they stay as friends after people leave the organization, and when there's an opening, it's just natural to say, I want to reach out to my friend who used to work for us and they know enough about the organization.
I agree.
So the power of employee referral.
How do you plan to stay relevant or make our team relevant in the industry? Industry is evolving. Every day we hear about new innovations in talent acquisition, doing this, talent acquisition doing that, right? How do you plan to ensure that our team stays relevant?
I think staying relevant has two parts, right? One is internal insights, and the other one is external insights. So the internal piece, we covered that a while ago, around inviting the business to come speak to us so often, and just keeping ourselves updated on what else is happening on the business front. So that's the internal insights that we need to enable ourselves. And then from an external perspective, we always encourage our team to go out, whether you're attending a conference or talking to candidates beyond just the job itself.
Right.
So we talk to people constantly, sometimes without an open position, just to keep candidates warm and engaged for future opportunities. And in so doing, we help ourselves to stay updated on what else is happening out there.
Yeah.
Like, I think of those times when we are competing with the startup, and we knew exactly what the startups were offering, how real the startup was to begin with, right? And then we went past those days to the Great Resignation, and all these things. It cannot happen in silo. The team has to not only do their work inside, but they have to go out and put themselves out there to talk to people.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I remember now the team, what they think first, right? Once they have the rec, they think who can do the job internally first. So it's like giving importance to the internal employees. So that those are all, there was a term coined, quiet hiring, which means like first you look inside, who is there to do the job, and then look at outside. So all these things are happening in the industry. I want to also add embracing technology, right? I think the last hackathon that we did in India, right? All these ideas came from these webinars and so many conferences that we attend, and it made such an impact, right? When it comes to employer branding across India, I remember there were around 10,000 registrations. That made a very loud noise about Akamai, what we do and what we are here to do. So embracing technology as well, right? I think when it comes to TA leadership, we are there. I think we are always like, there to accept what is there in the industry to offer when it comes to technology, right? I'm the witness. I think a role mapper was rolled out when I was at Akamai. We were hacker rank, right? We implemented a hacker rank when pandemic hit. It was very hard, right, to do all these remote interviews, and now look at the way they are driving, the technology is driving our hiring globally. I think embracing technology is another piece that you want to add. Do you want to add something about it?
I was also thinking about the other thing that you do externally as well. You do stay connected with TA leaders across the industries, whether across tech industries and beyond. So tell us what the group does, what that very tight group does.
Well, we talk about real-time challenges, right? When we meet at conferences, there are a lot of challenges, right? This is one alternative talent pool that we were talking about with the hiring leadership, TA leaderships. Revive, right? People with a career break. Why not? Why not give them opportunities? As Mellisa mentioned, right? Skill-based hiring. Why not we just evaluate them on skills, right? Whether they can do the job or not. And developing new technologies or learning new technologies it just can happen on the job. So we talk about how this diverse talent pool can feed into our needs, right? Veterans, we spoke about the challenges, right? It's not like they are not there, they are there, but where to find them is one of the big question, right? So we speak about bench, creating a bench. We always cry, in India, there's a terminology, Mellisa, I'm not sure if you are aware. When a requirement comes to TA, the expectation from hiring manager is to close the recce like yesterday. Right? Typically, that's what the expectation is. I hear from leaders, hey, Kurian, my expectation was to close this recce yesterday. When can we close? I said, okay, fine. 90 days is the average notice period in India. That's huge. I'm not sure in Singapore how's it, how other APJ
it's 30 to 60 days.
30 to 60 days, right? It takes time to identify that right talent, to bring them on board. And you know what? It's typically what we were talking about, how much time for a resource it takes to hit the road running, like start being productive in the system. Typically it takes 12 months. First 6 months, right, say 45 to 90 days, you take time to identify that niche skill person. Then the person comes on board. That takes another, say, 2 to 3 months. And next 6 months to actually become productive. So 12 months of productivity that we lose. So we were all talking about, see, in IT industry, seldom people talk about productivity, but we are touching upon these points as well, how business is getting impacted because of the productivity loss, right? So these are some of the challenges we talk when we meet together, and what are the possible solutions, right?
Yeah, it's quite nice to be able to generate ideas across the TA leaderships in the country itself, right? And you come together, talk about the challenges, and then generate ideas together. That's wonderful to see. Yes. The other thing, Kurian, I can think of, like I said, I cover Asia Pacific, Japan for the last 2 decades or so. I have seen a lot of good works in my previous company, but I also say Akamai India has stand out for me quite a bit. And I do want you to be able to talk about some of the things that the team has done well. Like, I think about decline. I think about the number of roles filled and our average time to fill. You want to talk about that a little bit?
Absolutely, Sandy. The team is, I would say in one word, right? They are the champions, right? When it comes to innovation, right? We spoke about so many initiatives that we took, like PWD, or you talk about hackathons that we did in the past, to feed into very niche verticals that we are in, right? Cybersecurity. It's very difficult to find talent. They're all passive, basically. So pull them out of that their existing organization, right? It becomes a challenge. So team has been very innovative. How and not only that, the team thinks beyond, right? It's not just about closing recs. It's about creating that employer awareness, right? It's about reaching out to those. I call it as actively passive candidates. Like, they just don't want to be there in the social media, right? So these are all geeks, difficult to find. They are so well aware about these people. Where do they go? Platforms like GitHub, right? They go to GitHub, and I have recruiters who are part of GitHub Club. So that's the passion that drives them. That's the passion that makes them more innovative in finding talent, right? So these are some of the things that team does, and with leadership support, and when they open their pockets for us to invest more, right? That's when team are more encouraged to identify talent and find alternative ways to fulfill our organization needs. So
that's what I love about the team here. You know, all the ideas, innovation, passion, all generating internally, which is amazing. Yeah. And like I said, I have not seen such low decline rate across the years that I've ever had India teams, you know, reporting to me. Across industry, on an average, I see anywhere between 20 to 30% decline. And what are we today? Like under 3%?
Under 3%, Sandy.
And that's a huge achievement for the team.
Yeah, I want to call out an initiative by our talent acquisition team. It's called Connector Program. I'm not sure when you were part of Connector. So Connector Program brings all the offered candidates in one platform, right? And one of the leader, tenured of course, right? Leader, addresses the crowd, talks about their experience in the system, why did they stay in the system, how their career roadmap was in the system. So this all encourages people to join Akamai, and not only that, we very much give them a good onboarding experience, like candidate onboarding experiences. We talk about their the employee benefits. We talk about what are other benefits that they can avail, like when it comes to transport, remote work, right? They can work from anywhere, right? So we address all these questions in one platform. So they need not go to multiple people or write to multiple people, but in that platform, all their questions are being addressed. May it be onboarding, HR operations, background verifications, anything that you talk about, right? In one call, 1 hour call, it is one every month we schedule. And after that, of course, Sandy did say it's less than 3%, our decline rates are less than 3%. So there are witnesses after Connector Program, which tells us that, this program helps them to take a right decision to join Akamai.
Yeah,
there are many cases where, they had multiple offers,
yeah,
but they chose Akamai over those offers.
Which is very common in India, right? People come with multiple offers, but we do the pre-boarding engagement program, which is very important for people to make that decision, but also to stick to the decision made. And that's been really helpful for us to drive that low decline rate.
Kurian, I have a question for you.
Sure.
Aside from skills, what else would you look at when you're hiring a candidate?
At Akamai, our talent team is very much equipped to do behavioral interviews, right? We use behavioral interviewing techniques to understand how candidates are curious about things, to understand how innovative they are, what different things they have done, right? This helps us to make sure that they fit into the culture of Akamai, because the culture of Akamai is quite vibrant. We have programs like Wizards where we encourage employees to come forward and share their ideas, right? So we want employees who fearlessly come talk about their ideas. It doesn't matter whether it's a small or a big idea, right? But just talk, open up. So that's the kind of people we look for and use these behavioral techniques to understand their innovative skills, their passion about their job. So these all aspects helps us to make a decision whether to process the candidate or not.
Wow.
Does
And
that-
I'll just add to that, I think beyond the innovation and curiosity, we are a company at Akamai very high in collaboration.
Yeah.
So those are the few things that we look for in candidates. And to Kurian's point, the team generally use behavior-based interview technique to identify a past behavior of a candidate, because only with the proven past behavior can we determine the future performance of an individual. So those are the things that we do to help us identify candidates.
Wow, that's really amazing, because I kind of feel like I covered and I sort of fit all those categories that you all mentioned, because those were the very questions and the very things that were asked when I was interviewed. And even the innovation piece. So, like you said, Akamai always looks for people who are curious and who are willing to take risks. And just about 3 or 4 months into the organization, I had identified a gap in our process, and I just had this idea, and I took it to my manager, and she was, and it was an innovation piece, because we used to have a process where, you know, we needed somebody to physically record audios for our trainings, and I knew that was time consuming and a lot of effort from our stakeholders.
Yeah.
So, keeping innovation in mind, and the curious person that I am, I just took this idea to her, and I was like, so why don't we use AI? And you know, how about we explore it? And she was totally on board, and she was like, okay, you're responsible for the R&D for this. And to see it now implemented, I could spend that time and, you know, introduce this new tool, and it has been so successful.
Right.
And I would say a part of it is also because, you know, the leadership is so open to innovation,
Right.
and the focus is not somebody who's been in the system for long enough to know what they're saying, but they're just genuinely interested in listening to ideas and open to implementing it. So I feel like, you know, I am definitely one candidate who ticked all those categories.
So amazing to see the sparkle in her
Absolutely.
eyes, and how we are living out the culture and living out,
Yeah.
you know, the real DNA of
Absolutely.
Akamai. So that's
That's
great.
great. To call out Wizards, it's one of the program, right? That we encourage employees to come forward and talk about new innovative ways they can do the work. So what do you think we are doing differently? How we are invested in identifying talent outside of the usual available talent?
Yeah. I think beyond the professional hiring, the other piece that we are very heavily invested in is what we call the emerging talent program. And this basically refers to hiring freshers and interns
Right.
into the organization. And at Akamai, we are a firm believer of building their career right from the beginning, right? So hiring these freshers and interns into the organization allows us to engage them at the early years of their career.
Absolutely.
We develop, we grow them, and we have seen actually there's so many people, even as I'm speaking, there's so many leaders that comes to mind, and how
Right.
they have started their career with Akamai as an interns, and then today they are manager, directors, VPs,
I agree.
and
Yeah,
also I think that is the one program that allowed us to build diversity, but also to fuel the pipeline for us in the organization and how we actually see them staying with the organization, growing, developing, and that one is an amazing story that we should one day consider doing a podcast with.
Absolutely, absolutely, and I second that. The reason is the universities, top universities, right, and the Indian government, right, the amount they're spending to ensure that our students are relevant
Yeah.
to the current industry requirement. For example, there are colleges that offer cybersecurity
Yeah.
courses, right? There are colleges that offers cloud specific roles, AI, ML specific, curriculum in their academics. So that makes our students more relevant, and I'm glad to know that. I think we are expanding in APJ
Yes.
as well.
So, I was about to come to that. So here in India, I would say 5% of our total hiring comes through the emerging talent,
Right.
which is actually great
Yeah.
pipeline for us. And this year we are looking at expanding it to the rest of APJ as well. So we're making a great traction around the area as well.
That's great to know. Thank you so much, Sandy, for sharing your insights, and Mellisa for being here, for being part of this show. Appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank
Absolute
you.
pleasure.